When I was 12 years old, my brother was only 9. Now, despite having grown up in the same family, under the same roof, with a lot of the same teachers, and having a lot of the same experiences, Ryan and I did not get along. In fact, to say that we didn't get along was an understatement. For a year's time, Ryan and I quite literally had 0 positive interactions. Our communications with each other consisted of criticisms, harsh words, jabs, condescending remarks. And to be honest, it was hard on both of us. I remember distinctly one weekend that we spent with my dad. We were bickering, fighting as per usual. My dad pulled me aside and he said, "Tiff, I don't get to see you too much. I don't get to spend a lot of time with you, and I don't know why you insist on fighting during that time." This stung. He continued, "You know, I had an older sister growing up, and she was wonderful. She treated me well. She took care of me, and we were best friends." This automatically resonated with me. I wanted to raise my standard of what an older sister was. I decided in that moment that I would resolve things with Ryan. I didn't know how, and it took some time, but finally, I came to the conclusion that I would talk to him. I remember walking into his room with the resolve to tell him I was no longer going to fight with him. I walked in to find him playing a video game, and before I could say anything, not looking up, controller in hand, he made some remark that was snotty. I, in that moment, blood boiling, knew exactly how I was going to respond, and it was funny. It would sting, but it would drive the point home that, hey, I'm the comeback queen. You know your place. So I opened my mouth, and right in that moment, I remembered why I had walked in there in the first place, to tell him that I was no longer going to fight. And for the first time in either of our lives, I swallowed my words. And I told him, "Ryan, I don't want to fight with you anymore. I don't know how you feel, but I would love it if you got on board." And I didn't know how he would take it at the time, but I will always remember his response. And it was putting the controller down, looking at me in the eyes, and saying, "Okay." You can imagine how the rest of the story goes. Ryan and I became the best of friends. To this day, he's one of the closest people to me. He's every bit as caring and kind and considerate as everyone else knew him to be. In fact, when I think about it, I'm so convinced that at the quality of human being Ryan is that I can't help but wonder if I really was the problem the whole time. So that said, you might hear this story and wonder, or think to yourself, why is this important? There's so many other problems going on in the world. But I would submit to you, maybe one of the most important things is our relationship with family. We're all part of the same family called humankind. And I think a question on a lot of our minds is, how do we fix things? How do we come together? After so much hurt, where can we find healing? And what is the solution? Well, I don't have the perfect answer. I did learn 3 things from my experience with Ryan. The first thing was that we should be willing to educate people on how we'd like to be treated, and simultaneously gracious in receiving education from other people on how they would like to be treated. I know on a small scale what it feels like to be in the situation just like I was with Ryan and feel like I'm not the one in the wrong. How does it possibly fall to me to have to be the bigger person, or be the more patient one, or be the more loving one and willing to educate, humble myself in that moment? But I posit to you that this is the only way that we can foster any relationship, is through being willing to educate and simultaneously receive that same education. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach as far as how to treat people, or how to treat even one demographic. Each person is different. Something that I might be sensitive about or have a raw spot about, another could find totally humorous and okay. Something that I might not think twice about, someone else could find offensive. For that reason, we need to be willing to educate each other on how to treat each other. The second thing is focusing on what unifies us. I'm convinced that one of the reasons why Ryan and I had such a bad go was because I was more focused on how we were different instead of how we were similar. It stuck out in my mind everything that he was doing that in my mind was wrong. Looking at what unifies us can help us in many ways. While our experiences may differ, everyone knows what it's like to be mistreated for something about them or about their identity. We've all heard it before. We're too fat, or too skinny, or too dumb, too smart, too religious, or not religious enough. We're marginalized for being black, white, or any race in between, for being too ugly, too pretty, or too average, for being straight, gay, male, female, and the list goes on. We cannot make light of anyone's experience. It is undeniable that some absolutely experience more strife than others. Let us be unified by the fact that we have all been hurt, and that because of that, we don't condone the mistreatment of anyone, of any individual. The third thing was being willing to let go of a past and actively believe that a future can be better. Letting go of the past is hard, but it is more important to us. But is it more important to us to hold true to every hurt we've experienced in the past at the expense of a future with someone? With Ryan, I had to ask myself, am I more keen that every injustice is accounted for, that the reparations are exactly equal to the pain I've been caused? Or is it more important to me to build a future with someone I love? Believing that the future could be different is more important than saying we believe it could be different. It is treating people like we believe and know that they really can change. It is giving people the space to make mistakes on their journey to becoming better. So we must ask ourselves, do we believe human beings are inherently good? And if so, why are we so quick to assume hurtful intent? Do we believe that things really can improve? If not, why are we fighting? The only logical explanation for fighting is because some part of us believes that things can change, that they can be different. Is fighting, however, the logical action to elicit that change? My experience with Ryan has taught me that it does not. Actively believing that the future can improve means not assuming bad intent. It means being willing to let go of a past in order to create a future. It means we cannot treat people as if they can never change, even when they make mistakes. The changes will be slow over time, maybe almost imperceptible, but they do come. My father passed away unexpectedly in February, and I'm forever grateful that he was able to see Ryan and my relationship mended, that we were able to put our love for each other ahead of everything else, even a messy past. I'm grateful that Ryan and I were able to choose being nice over being right. My dad was a huge fan of oldies music, and among these was Burt Bacharach. So as a result, I'm also a big fan of Burt Bacharach. One of our favorite songs is titled What the World Needs Now is Love. Thank you very much.